Can you do me a favor and tell me what it was like working with Brad Wright all of those um, nearly 2 decades.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
you're
two,
partnered through much of this.
yeah, there's two things that come to mind. I mean, there's so many stories that we could tell that, in terms of us going through things in the trenches together and having to have each other's backs. There are a number of situations where, Brad would just kind of leap out in front of the oncoming car in order to sort of save the day. I could tell those stories, but some of them are probably not for public consumption. Um, I'll tell you that when I first started on the show, I've told this story before, I think, of how I flew myself out to Vancouver to meet with the guys, and I was pitching them, and John was, had his pad of paper, and pen was sitting there and not doing anything, and I knew I was kind of bombing, and then finally, I said something that he wrote down, but um, after that, Brad took me on a tour of the whole studio, and as we were walking around, um, he was kind of like, he just dropped, do you golf? And I said, yeah, I've been golfing, and I started talking about that. And I feel like in a way that was really, never mind the idea that I pitched, that was really the answer that kind of got me the job. Because I don't know if anyone's talked about this in any of the interviews you've done, but we would take golf trips with the writers and the crew, um, sometimes a couple times a year. It would be kind of our way of blowing off steam, but they were also like just ways to kind of get together and uh, have some fun and have some drinks, and it was, I guess, the justification for it would be called team building, um, but it was, yeah, that was him kind of driving that bus, and it really, it was like amazing.
Wow.
Uh, the thing about creatively with Brad, I think, you could boil it down to this sentence. I have an image. Like he would come in one day in the room and be like, I have an image for this. And a lot of his writing would be around that, right? Like he would take that image or a thing he wanted to do and then build his story around it. And then the story was good, but it always started from this one central image or idea. Whether it was a ship flying into the corona of the sun or a room that turned, you know, 360 degrees, a set that was like going to roll and people would have to walk on walls. Like he was thinking that way. He was often, very motivated by it's weird because he called himself a playwright and he liked to write two people in a room or whatever, talking to each other all the time. But he also was very driven by whatever a visual idea.
Yeah, that was his hook.
Yeah,
And you've talked about thematically a lot of the time is where your thoughts would come from, like you want to do a story about revenge, or this that they percolated
right.
that way. So I think the two coming together is a good is a good mix.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, look, obviously worked for a very long time. So
Would you like to work together again one day, or
yeah,
would you be open to that?
sure, sure, sure. I mean, uh, we each have our own ideas, and we're also both kind of at the stage of our career where, you know, uh, we're looking for things that are gonna uh, kind of be interesting as opposed to just working for work's sake. So
Mm.
there isn't a whole lot of stuff being being made in Canada. So
Hmm. I think that the relationship that you two had in creating, one of the tentpole staples of that genre cannot be underestimated. The work that you guys put out. I mean, at one point, 120 hours of television in 3 years. No one does that. No one will ever do that again.
well, Taylor Sheridan does it. I mean,
Well, I mean, okay, fine.
I think Shonda Rhimes does it. There are people who do it. Yeah, I mean, I don't really recommend it, to be honest with you. Um, it's quite demanding, and maybe doesn't always result in uh, you know peak quality.
Well, how you can maintain families while doing this, and certainly,
Yeah.
not everyone can.
No, I mean, I'll speak for me. My wife deserves a ton of credit. So,
Absolutely, and family members who understand the sacrifices that you make, because especially as writers, Joseph Malazzi and I have had this conversation a lot. Your brain is you're never on vacation. Your brain is
mhm.
always churning the next story. So it's wild. You spent so much of your time making things believable, and I'm curious. I don't think I've asked you this before. What was for you, do you think, one of the more far-fetched plot or story elements for the franchise, where you guys were like, or you yourself was like, I think this is pushing it. We can do it, but we're really asking the audience to suspend their disbelief on this one.
Well, the most obvious. I mean, we've talked about these episodes. It's easily going to be the 100th and 200th. I mean, those are those are jump the shark, come around, jump the shark again. Like it was. But those were departure episodes. I think
Right.
we were leaving the building as far as attempting believability there.
The one I can't remember if I was discussing with you or Malazzi, and correct me if I did, but if I look at the entire franchise, they're the one that got to me the most was Vala disappearing through the rings in deep space and then winding up safely on an Ori planet in another galaxy. That for
Hmm.
me was the hardest to wrap my brain around. Even at the end of Beachhead, it was like, we've if she made it through, we've can you imagine sending a more wild message to the enemy? And it was the thing. There's just some stuff that you have to do to make the story work. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say to you because I look at all the stuff we did as being stretching.
Okay.
Like time travel is not possible. Faster than light travel, not really possible. A Stargate, not really possible. So
It's
I
fair.
don't. I'm it's really a question of I think does it feel earned and organic to the story, or does it feel like it was a cheat that was
Mm,
just kind of almost lazily used to get through a plot point that, you know, wasn't well thought out?
mm-hmm.
That's where science fiction, and part of that is we always used to, try our best not to have multiple new science fiction concepts introduced in the same episode or even the same sequence so that it felt like we were at least spending enough time introducing that idea in a believable way, in a respectable way, so that we talk about how it works, what the rules are, and then, before we go breaking them.
Right, exactly. You want to establish the rules, and then you can play around with the flexibility of that container that you've created within the mind
Right.
of the viewer.
Right. Yeah. Like if we had a Stargate, we kind of spent a long time, and the movie certainly already had introduced the concept of a wormhole and a Stargate and what that was and how it worked. Um, you didn't really want to do an episode that had time travel, robots, and body swapping in it. That would be just too much to try and explain, and then by the time you did that, people would be like, what's going on? What is that? Just the body swapping feels like a cheat on top of the robot
Right.
thing.
Hey everyone, it's David. Hope you're enjoying the clips during the break. We will be returning in the spring. In the meantime, are you good with English? Are you one of those people who take pride in your grasp of it? Well, we have a great team over here transcribing the backed catalog of Stargate interviews and have dozens more to go. If you're interested in joining me and a small Stargate diehard community looking to preserve the stories brought to Dial the Gate into text form, then please email me at dialthegateshow@gmail.com. There's a little something in it for you, and you'll be helping to pass along the stories to future generations of fans who have yet to discover the show. Thanks so much for watching Dial the Gate.